Hey, it is Xennial Gamer here with part 3 of the Summoner's War Optimizer series. So guys, if this is the first video you're catching, be sure to check the video description for a list of the entire series. It's a 7-part series. I'm trying to break it down into videos that aren't overwhelming. Today's video is probably going to be one of the shorter ones of the series, but today we're going to be covering the Monsters tab, and then we're going to be covering charts and additional information that you can get from the Optimizer. Now you guys can see the Monster tab, it's right here, it's just called Monsters, pretty straightforward. So we're just going to work our way right from the top down. So to start off with, make sure you notice that right here at the top there's two tabs, one for base stats, one for actual stats. This is really useful if you're looking, for example, to find the monster that you have with the highest base speed. You go to base stats, you can sort by monster, and we can see Spectra, Masha, Kabila. Or you're looking for your lowest base speed just to know who to avoid, things like that. Also, if you're just wondering the base stats of a monster, there is a search box over here. So for example, if I wanted to know how many HP my Savannah starts with, I type in Savannah and I can see that right there. And then if I want to know what her actual build is, I click over to actual. Now, the columns below are actually all configurable. So if you click on the columns button, this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to read through the entire list, guys, but you can see all the different things that you can put in. The one thing I will note is you'll see like HP is duplicated, attack is duplicated, and I don't have these top ones checked. That's because the top ones are actually the base stats. So if I were to check this right here, I would see over here, this is my base HP and this is my actual HP. So if you want to be able to compare, you might configure it this way, where you've got the base speed over here and then you've got the current speed over here, so you can see exactly how much has been added to your monster. Now, we also have an export as CSV option. I have not really personally found this very useful. The data does not import, or the data does not export into a chart that's easily filtered. Now, we also have this Create Monster tab. This is really useful. So imagine that you just built a monster, and it's not importing because it's only 5-star and it doesn't have runes in it, but you want to run a rune set for it while you level it up. You would come over here to Create Monster, and then there's just a pull-down tab, and just so you guys know, you can also type into this. So let's say I wanted Kabila, I type K-A-B, and I highlight on Kabila. You can also just create a monster manually, so maybe it's a brand new monster in the game, the Optimizer hasn't been updated yet, you know, they just did their next collaboration with Pokemon or something. No guys, I don't have inside information, I'm not trying to start a craze here, I don't know of any Pokemon collab coming. Just an example, but yeah, so let's say they're doing their next collaboration and you've got the new monster, and you know, your monster is Xennial Gamer Memorial, you know, and I've got like probably 69 HP and 1 attack, or, you know, and you can create the monster manually from there. So let's say I did want to create a ragdoll and run a build. I could do that, and then I will actually see the ragdoll down here unruined because I just created it. Now, of course, you've seen me use the search box a couple of times already, so it is dynamic search. As you're typing letters, it continues to update. So I type in FA, I see the Pyro. And then any monster that I click on, it will actually show me their runes and more in-depth stats down here. Now, each column is sortable, so I can sort by level or archetype or HP. I can sort by any of this. What I sort by a lot is average efficiency. And I've talked about this in a lot of videos. Efficiency is not the be-all, end-all, but what efficiency does do is it gives me a quick guide point to finding my best rune monsters. Typically, the ones on siege defense have the most stats, so they're the most efficient. If you notice over here, there's a little green check mark showing me that I've got 6 of 6 runes equipped, and then there's 2 green icons right here showing me that my artifacts are equipped. So if I were to come down to a later page, I would see that my Fae has 1 artifact, which is the attribute artifact, but does not have the other artifact. And I can see that my Fae has no runes whatsoever. So this is a good way to quickly tell if you have any monsters that are missing artifacts or that have broken sets. Now, you'll also notice 2 separate locks over here. We're actually going to talk a lot about monster builds in part 4 when we do the builds overview. For today, just know that this allows you to lock or unlock a monster, and you're going to use that for when you're wanting to filter a monster's runes out of a build. So for example, if I was running a build for a brand new Nat 5 that I just pulled, And I was cool with taking a rune from Fang because I feel like he's easier to re-rune, but I'm not cool with taking a rune from Vigor or Van Cliff because they're harder to rune or because they're speed tuned or on siege defense or whatever. Then I would lock these two and I would unlock him. And then, of course, you can always look for runes just in inventory also. It's just an added layer of search depth. And again, we'll go more through that in detail in part 4. Now, you'll also see there's locks for artifacts. So you can lock the artifacts. Now, the artifact optimization slows the optimizer down a ton, and it doesn't calculate sub-properties as far as like specifically how much more damage you're going to do with sub-properties yet. So I don't use the artifact optimization much, which is why you see everything there is unlocked. You'll also see 2 efficiency columns. The one on the left is the overall efficiency of your rune set. The one on the right is the overall efficiency of your runes, but this is actually just a measurement of how many sub-properties the runes rolled compared to the maximum possible sub-properties. It's not specifically a measurement of like how well they rolled. So it's not telling you like, for example, you got a quad roll, or it's not even telling you that you have 4 useful sub-properties. It's just telling you how many sub-properties rolled compared to the maximum possible. Now on the far right hand column here, you'll also see 3 actions. There's an X. This would actually allow you to delete the monster just by clicking that X. There is a damage button. This is where you can calculate your monster's true damage, like the actual damage your monster will do in a real game situation. I wanted to say real life, but real game situation. This is going to be part 5. We're actually going to be talking about damage calculations and where you'd use it. And then on the far right, this is actually just a shortcut over to the monster builds tab, which is part 4 again. Now, a couple more final features on this page. You can skip forward through pages or back, so if you want to see a monster on a later page, of course. You'll also notice down here you have the ability to copy a monster's actual stats, either in a text or a Reddit form, or you can, I think you can link the, I've never actually tested this. I don't know how you would link the optimizer to Discord. So this would load your Discord in the SWOP bot. But I think this may be carried over from the web version. I'm not sure. I've never actually used this one. And then if you scroll down here a little bit further, you'll see that you do have the ability to check your monster's combat speed. So, for example, if I've got a leader skill that's 24% and my speed totem is 15%, it shows me my combat speed up here is 263. So if we look at, and you can see it's highlighted in orange, at least in the light theme it's in orange. So if we look at my monster, it started at 225, and then once I programmed in my leader skill and my totem, it showed me my combat speed. Over here, of course, we can see the runes. You can lock individual runes if you don't want to lock the entire build. And then you also have the ability to lock or unlock your runes. You can equip runes, and you can delete runes. Scroll down a little bit further, and you'll find your artifacts also with individual locks. Okay, for the last part of today's video, we're going to be talking about this information, the rune statistics tab. So to start off with, up at the top, you should notice that we do have an options pull down right here. So you can filter by only runes with a certain level of enchantment or higher. And then you can also filter all your gems and grinds or only gems. Down here we get some overviews, so I can see an overview of how many runes I have by set. I can see an allocation of how many runes I have by slot. Almost everybody's charts are going to look like this, where we've got more slot 1s than anything, less slot 6s than anything, and less slot 4s, and so on and so forth. We can look at set efficiency. Now this, the set efficiency is one of the areas where you might want to use your filter. So for example, if I go to only runes 15 or higher, you'll notice that my set efficiency levels off a lot more compared to right here, my fight runes. These are, right now, they're factoring in my BJR5 stuff. So when I say only use the runes that are plus 15, the fight runes are still a little bit lower than everything else, but the rest of them are much more level. If we look at stat distribution, obviously the 1, 3, 5 are always going to be the same, but it does give us an idea of how much we're using of each slot. So coming down a little bit further to craft set amount, this is showing you how many gems and grinds you have of each set. So you can see I have 3 grinds and no gems of fight, all the way up to 27 gems and 36 grinds for indoor. So it's just an allocation of what you have. This is actually kind of useful if you're trying to figure out, for example, It's the gems, I think, that are more useful than anything off of this chart. So if you're trying to figure out, like, you've got an extra 30 minutes, you want to go in and use some of your gems, which set should I do? I usually try and do, you know, obviously I do Violent and Will first, always, and then usually Swift and Despair. And once the big 4 are done, then I would just look at where do I have the most, because I want to, like, get my gem and grind inventory down, that type of thing. Then the last one we have over here is craft stat amount, and this is just literally showing you the allocation of what you have of your heroes, your legends, your rares, just like how much you have of each kind. Now, if you want to get further information, for example, let's say you want to get more information about your violent runes, you can actually look at it by set. So at the top, this is your overview of all your gems and grinds and runes and all that stuff. On the bottom, you can look at it by set. So if I look at my violent runes, I can see I've got 53 slot 1s. Surprisingly, I've got more slot 6s than anything else in Violent. Really interesting, actually. I can look at my breakdown, the same thing on my fight runes, or so on. So you can just check whichever of your runes you want. So this tab is basically just a way to find out information about your gems and grinds. It's really just for the nerds. Alright guys, so with that said, like I said, today's video was going to be the shortest one, and it was still kind of long. That's why I made this a 7-part series. But I really did want to give everybody a full in-depth walkthrough of the optimizer. Next 2 videos coming up are going to be the big 2. That's going to be how to build a monster and how to do the damage calculation. So as always, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the series, please consider subscribing, turn the bell notifications on, smash the like button, all those things that help the creators out. And then, as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time. Hey guys, if you're still with me to this point, then that means that you probably liked the video, found it entertaining, or even better, both. So please smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below, because those things help the channel grow, and more importantly, they show me that the video is useful, and that's the whole reason I do this in the first place.